So let us come to solving this differential equation. We are going to look at several approaches in solving this differential equation. But let me tell you a very, very important thing here, that although you should pay close attention to how this differential equation is solved, but in circuit analysis, we are usually not concerned or interested in solving all the differential equations in this fashion. This may be a topic for a mathematics course, a course in mathematics. I think you would be reading that differential equation course, studying that differential equation course in parallel as well. So here we are, although we are trying to do it in detail, but once the solution has been found, we will try to understand what that result means. So for future circuits, we will try to use our intuition and find the answer rather than solving the differential equation. Solving differential equations is not going to be very easy. So therefore, we try to reduce our workload by understanding the result and try to apply the same result in other situations where we understand the nature of the equation. So for example, if in a circuit, a basic RL circuit, if we encounter this differential equation, let me for the sake of completion draw the circuit here. So we have an L and R, and the initial current was, say, in this direction. It may be downward, does not matter, but we are choosing to say that it was flowing upward, and the initial value of this current was I naught. This is something we, in situations in circuits where we have energy storage involved, we always come up with an equation that involves differential equations. So these initial conditions are very, very important in solving these circuits. We will come to see about this more later on. So the value of this current at t is equal to 0, t is equal to 0 is the time that our interest starts in this circuit is I naught. And we know that this is the result. Applying KVL here in the circuit is how we got this differential equation. Then how to solve this? One idea is that there is a direct approach that we separate the variables. So take all the i's to one side and then all the t's to the other side. So I is a function of time and time is variable as well. So let us separate these variables. So if we take this part to that side, obviously this will become minus r over l it, and then we can bring this it to this side. So let us do this. We are going to get di. So I am not writing it for, I'm just resorting with writing I. And once this term goes to that side, that it can come here, and di by I is equal to minus r over l, and this dt goes to the other side, and we are going to get dt here. So we have separated the variables. So we have I as the variable here and t as the variable here. So if we take definite integrals on both sides, so we take an integral of this side, the left hand side, so we are going to integrate with respect to I, and the limits must be on i's. So some value of I, and the initial value we know is I0, and some value, the current time t that we are interested in, is equal to, now here the integration is with respect to t, so the limits would be on t. So t starts on 0 for our case, goes up to t minus r over l dt. So what do we get? So the integral of 1 over I, everybody knows, is the natural log of I. So we have in the limit I0. Later on, I will change this 0 to something else, but let us keep this 0 here, is equal to minus r over l This is basically integral of 1, and that is t, and the limits are from 0 to t. And I forgot that mathematics community does not like use of the same variables within the integrals that are being used in the limits. So we can change it like this. So what do we get here? So we get log of, when we apply the values limits, not the limits, these two values, lower limit and the upper limit, log of it minus log of I0. So we have it minus log of this thing and equal to minus r over L, and by applying the limits we get t minus 0 would be this t. Okay, so how to proceed and find the value of it here? We know that when we have a logarithmic value subtracting from a logarithmic value, we can write it like this: the natural log of it over I0 equal to minus r over L t. And if we take the each side to be the exponent of e, so e raised power this thing is equal to e raised power this thing. It's not going to change because we are doing the same operation on each side. We are going to get on this side, e being the base of this logarithm is going to cancel things out, and we are going to be left with it over I, and this I0 is basically I naught. Let me replace it with that. I naught is equal to e raised to the power minus r over L t, and we get it equal to minus I naught e raised power minus r over L t. So we got an expression for it that we were looking for, but let us see whether it satisfies the original equation or not. So if we put this in the original equation, we are going to get I naught minus r over L e raised power minus r over L t plus r over L into I naught e raised power minus r over L t. So is this equal to 0? Yes, it is 0. So it satisfies the original equation because this is the negative of this same term. And does this expression also satisfy the initial conditions? Let us check that. So if we put t equal to 0 here, we get I equal to 0 is equal to t here, e raised power 0 is 1, we get I naught. So the initial condition is satisfied. So this is the expression that we are looking at. And this was one way of finding the answer. Let us in this same video look at another way of solving differential equations. So instead of this definite integrals, we could have resorted to using the antiderivative, and that is the infinite integral. No, sorry, the improper or proper integral, whatever it is called, I have forgotten that, is equal to minus r over L dt. And we know that the solution to using these integrations must be that we have a constant of integration here and a constant of integration here. The constant here and the constant here can come to the same side and add or subtract together from each other, and we get one constant of integration for that can represent both of them. So we know that if we solve this now, the antiderivative of 1 over I is natural log of I, and here we have minus r over L t plus this k. And again we can see that this satisfies the original um, equation. Uh, but how to find the value of k here? So right here we can decide on resolving. We can actually uh, resolve the value of k here. So if we put t is equal to 0, so taking q from the initial conditions, we will get natural log of I 0 equal to t0 is make this term 0. So k is actually log of natural log of I naught. So that is how the value of k is resolved, and we are left with the same thing here. So we are left with the same thing here. So manipulating this again the same way, we are going to get the same expression. It is equal to I naught e raised to minus r over L t. This is the second method of solving the differential equation. This is the first way, and this is the second way of solving the differential equation. There is a third way as well. Let me include that in the same video as well. And this way is actually most often used in mathematics. It is known as a general solution. So it's very interesting actually. Here we assume a solution, and we obviously cannot know the exact value of the equation, the form of the expression, exact expression, but we can assume that assume its form and take all the constants involved as variables and trying to find their values. So we know that a differential equation of this form basically has an exponential solution. So what we do is we take a very generalized solution. Let us say, let the solution be of this form. There is a constant here. We don't know its value. That is what we are going to find out. But we know a differential equation usually of this form has an exponential solution response. So a, e raised power, and something here as well. So let us say it is S1. There is a reason to use S. That is how it is used in literature. And right now we are not going to discuss why this is S and not B, for example. So let us say, so this is something unknown, A. We are going to find what it is. And this is also not known. We are going to find what it is. Obviously, IT is a function of t. So we have t here. E is a number constant. And these values for this particular case are to be found out. So if this thing is a solution to the original differential equation, then obviously that must satisfy the original differential equation. Let us put this solution there. So we are going to get a s e raised power s1 e raised power s1 t. I have put this in the first term and taken its derivative. So we got this. And the second term we have r over L and it, the same thing here, equal to 0. Now you can see we have a e raised power s1 t common, and we are left with s1 plus r over L equal to 0. In this expression we have three things: this thing a, this thing, and this thing. So for this whole expression to be 0, either a is 0, but if a is 0 then it is 0. It's for, so all the responses are 0. That we know is not the case. So we are not going to consider this solution. Or e raised power s1 t is 0, which implies that s1 is minus infinity actually, because e raised power minus infinity is 1 over e raised power infinity, and that is 0. But if S1 is minus infinity and this thing is 0, once again, the whole response is 0 for every case. So we know this is not the case. So therefore, this must be 0, and which implies that S1 must be equal to minus R over L. And we have actually found this thing. So the S1 is minus R over L. So how to find this A? We can make use of that initial conditions. So let us put the initial condition here. So the I at 0 is what we know, and this is equal to A e raised per 0. So A is actually I naught. So see, IT is equal to I naught e raised per minus R over L. T is the solution that we have found by the third way as well. This is quite interesting actually, and this is how differential equations usually are solved. And there is another direct route as well. So let me bring that direct route in here as well. This thing has a special name. So you can see this is the fourth method, but actually it's part of this as well. This thing has a special name and is known as the characteristic equation in mathematics. And we can see that we can straight away find the characteristic equation from the differential equation. Look at this characteristic equation and the original differential equation. We have the derivative here and we have this here. So look at this form. We have 1 here, the coefficient of di by dt term, and di by dt is replaced by s. Say, let us forget this subscript 1 for now. So derivative is replaced by s, or you can say the first derivative is replaced by s power 1, and the original form I that is not in derivative is not replaced, or is replaced by s0, first derivative by s1. Actually, if there would have been a second derivative, we would have replaced with s square. So we are going to get this characteristic equation directly from that derivative differential equation. So having a differential equation of this form, dx by dt plus something, say p x equal to 0, the characteristic equation would be s plus p equal to 0. So s would be equal to minus p is something we can straight away find that. So the direct route can employ the characteristic equation and say the solution to the differential equation is a e raised power minus b t. So the characteristic equation gives what is there here with t in the exponent, and this can be found from initial conditions. So this is another way of solving this differential equation. So we are not really concerned about trying to solve the differential equations mathematically in the circuits that we are going to encounter. That would be one hell of a job. So luckily we are not going to do that, but this was important, and what we will be doing is we will try to understand the result and often apply it directly by looking at what is given in the question.